Hey guys, Joe Warner coming back in. Actually, going to be doing a interview here for the creator of the New World mod for Rome 2. Just want to take the time real quick to thank my Patreon supporters Dan, Jonas, Axel, Adam, and Ellington. Thank you guys very much for that support. Genesis,
Hello.
how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
I heard about this mod about a week ago or so. You had said something about it, and actually, I did a little bit of it on a stream that I did not this past Saturday, the Saturday before. And I gotta say, man, this mod is really, really cool.
Thank you so much. I mean, this means a lot to me, really. Worked
Absolutely,
really
man.
hard on it.
Yeah, you said something. You've been working on this mod for like a year.
Yep. About a year. Yeah. It started out as just an idea of implementing new culture group for the Amazons, and the idea behind it was, it's still the same idea that I'm going by now, which is almost every single mod for Rome 2 has one goal, and that is let's make this game as historically accurate as possible. And that, even though that's amazing, I love that. History has always been something I love, but what if I had a little bit of an alternate history twist? So still realistic, still believable, but not exactly what happened in real life, basically.
Okay.
And the original idea was to add just one culture group, but I was like, okay, let's add the Amazons in. And then I was thinking, okay, so you guys might be thinking, well, Amazons, how is that even possible? Well, it was just a different concept. Instead of them being like mythological race, they're basically just a society where women gain the upper hand. And how that influenced the gameplay is that there would be like cultural there'll be bigger difference when it comes to culture. So when you conquer a different settlement, most cultures are very mistrusting or distrusting of the Amazons because of the different views.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you actually have a faction that is, I mean, a little unique to say the least. They're a combination of sort of barbarian, and then they become Greek as the game progresses in the campaign. Um, it kind of goes with their mythos, but it's still somewhat of a grounded reality. Now, over time, I decided, well, let's actually expand on this, and I started adding more things in, like the Etruscans. Well, the Etruscans existed, but during point in history where this game takes place, they were pretty much eradicated at that point. But what if they continued? What if they resisted Rome? What if they still became their own civilization? Um, Stuff like that. Um, and the same treatment is being given to other factions, even factions that did exist and haven't been given enough credit or unique ability. I guess that's a word, I'm not sure. In this game, yeah, that has been done before. And I'm not really limited by was this historically accurate? I'm just focused on could this have happened? Is it possible in some alternate reality that this could have happened? If yes, then I will add it in if possible. As long as I don't change too much, if I don't stray away, I'm not going to turn it into completely different. Like, I'm not going to change much about things that already exist,
Mm.
but I will be adding, if that makes sense.
That definitely makes sense. Actually, do you want to start getting into the? We'll go into a lobby. I'll create a lobby, and we can go over some of the factions, the new factions, new units, and everything. Because it's not just the new factions that you've added in. You've actually added in new units to pre-existing factions.
Exactly, with more to come as well. Like, I'm actually still like I want there to be even more units in the original factions. Like
I think
there
actually a
will
lot
be a
of
lot
people
more.
will really appreciate that. So, guys, hold on one second. Let's just I'm gonna cut the video here for a second and get into making a lobby here. So hold on one second, guys.
All right, let's
All
do it.
right, guys. So here we are. We are now at the one of the created a lobby here, and why don't you tell us what factions you actually created and put into this mod?
Okay, first, these are factions that have not been seen in this game or in the vanilla game before. So we got Atlantis. We got three Amazonian factions: the Amazonian Traditionalists, Nova Amazonia, and just plain old Amazonia. Uh, we got Etruria, which is the Etruscan state. and we have, well, yeah, that would cover the entirely new thought of factions, I guess, like completely new. Okay, no
Okay, so
basis in
you've
the
come up
original
with 5 new factions and added them
so
in.
far.
Okay.
So far,
So
yeah.
far, ladies and gentlemen, we got more to
This
come.
I'll actually give you some insight on the ones to come. Um, but for now, so factions that were already in the game, but either had little to no character, weren't playable, or anything like that, would be the Caledones, the Ebdani, Cheruski, Knossos, Rhodos, and Cyprus. So those factions are now all playable, and two of them stand out. The Caledones, the Ebdani, who have received major overhauls to their unit roster. They're completely new. Um, Originally, they were in the game, but they copied the Iceni's roster. But now, they've got their own roster based on different region or cultural understanding of that we have of those factions. And while factions like Knossos and Rhodos and all those small Greek states that I just mentioned haven't really, at this point, don't really have anything new to them except for obviously being able to bring in Rhodian slingers and Cretan archers
Mm-hmm.
without them being mercenaries. Other than that, I haven't really added anything in yet. But obviously, like I said, you can expect them to become even more unique. And the goal here is not just these factions, not just like I said, so far that's all I got. And in my mind right now, when this project is, let's say, complete, I don't know when that will be. When it's complete, every single faction is going to be different. Every
Wow.
single faction. You could have like hoplites that are shared across different factions, but those hoplites could look completely different between each faction. So hoplites in Knossos, which are the Cretans, will have like a bull or a minotaur on their shield, stuff like that. While those in Athens would have like a an owl, and just it can be something that small, or it can be something like their entire appearance just receiving a complete makeover. It depends. So every faction is gonna feel a little different, even if it's just visually at the start. And obviously, I want each faction to have one or two unique units at the minimum.
Yeah,
So no
actually,
copy paste. Yeah.
I was just looking in there, and you had said something that the Caledonis and the Ebdani are, copy paste kind of Iceni. I looked at the Iceni roster real quick, and yeah, they have, there's a lot of swords and everything, but I mean, you added units into the Iceni roster as well.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So
There
even a
was one,
pre-existing faction, have you done that to a lot of other pre-existing factions that we already had played in, regular Rome 2?
a few, yes, and with even more to come.
Wow.
A good example of this would be the Adrician Kingdom. They didn't really have enough units to balance out their playstyle, but if you look at it right now, you'll see that I've added in the normal Volksmen, I've
Hmm.
added in Gallifreycian infantry, I've added in heavy spears, and Agrianian axemen, and those are actually now these units that I added in right here are actually completely historically accurate. For those of you who like historical, like nothing that has been added to this faction actually doesn't make it like everything you see added in this faction right now should have been there on release. I'm just saying, like the
Wow.
Agrianians were known to settle in that region and fight with the Thracians. Uh, Thracians did not have any good spearmen whatsoever. Now they've got heavy spears at least.
Yeah, because the
Sure,
other,
they
aside of their own regular spears, they just had mercenary hoplites and mercenary veteran hoplites until you added in the heavy spears. So now they have
exactly,
an actual heavy spear infantry unit of their own.
exactly, and you'll notice also when you get in game that a hint or a little. I've started implementing the idea that each faction looks different. You'll see when you get in game that the heavy spears and the Gallithracian infantry and the Foxmen as well. Those are all available to other factions in vanilla, but they look completely different to the way they look for the Adrician Kingdom because they're a slightly different culture.
Hmm.
And they live in a different region. And you can see that by looking at the unit card as well. If you remember what the original ones look like, they're 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 actually more. or Thracianized, I guess. They're the Thracians, so Thracianized, I guess this will be the term.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, stuff like that, and other factions. So I'm just going through the list right now because there's a lot of things that I've added in. I kind of lost a little, I kind of lost track of it.
Mm.
Um, so
Wow.
I'll go over the new units added to different factions, and then I'll go over the changes done to original units.
Okay.
Let's see. So all barbarian factions get noble Gallic swordsmen. Not a big deal here. You get Tribalist Warriors, Tribalist Spearmen. Any one of you guys who's played the latest DLC campaign, Rise of the Republic, will recognize these units. Just fodder. But they fill up the rosters a little bit. Carthage, they get Sacred Swords, which are basically Sacred Band, but with swords. Sacrifice a little bit of defense, or it depends on whether you want to defend or you want to attack. If you're more based on attacking, you can go with the sword. If you're more based on defending, you can go with the
Spear
spears.
faction. Yeah, the spear infantry.
Yep. You get Carthaginian Marines. Um, you also get Libyan archers and Carthaginian archers.
Oh wow.
So,
Whoa, the Carthaginian archers, they don't have a unit cap.
yeah.
So you can get 4 of them, and they are actually the exact same unit aside of the resistant to heat that the Carthaginian archers get that the mercenary Cretans do not.
Yep.
Wow.
I mean, you would expect a faction like Carthage to spread across like so many different areas. They would at least want to have a good, like they would have access to good archery. Really.
Yeah.
Considering
Actually, when you mentioned just before with the Libyan Peltasts, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but this Libyan Peltast card for Carthage looks different than what I remember it looking like. Did you change that?
I'll be totally honest with you. I don't even remember. I don't think I did. But I did add Libyan archers. Those were not in the game actually, but they are now. So you also get a low tier archer unit, which Carthage did not have.
Yeah, they had everything else here except for the Carthaginian archers and the Libyan archers. They had everything else.
Might
Okay.
even be wrong, but I'm not sure if they had Libyan slingers. Oh, you know what?
No,
It's
they
been a
did
while.
not have Libyan slingers. They did not have Libyan slingers. They had the Balearics.
The Lyric sling. Oh,
That's right. They had the
okay.
mercenary Balearics that they still have. That has still has the 3 unit cap on per army.
Yeah, all mercenaries get a cap in the game.
Okay. Um,
Um, and then what's next? Let's see. Um, it's actually okay in Galatia. So this has actually been really requested whenever I talk to anyone. There's one unit that's been added right now, and that's the Galatian Noble Guardsmen, which are basically Galatian Royal Guard from Egypt, but renamed, and that's all they are. So yeah, you get those. And
so you
actually
put
get
the
the
you
fourth unit.
finally did that because I've heard a lot of other people saying also that the Galatians didn't get the Royal Guard. So it's good to see that you actually added in a unit that is similar, if not exact, for them to finally have Galatian nobles.
They're basically exactly the same. They are
Wow.
exactly. It's a different name. Yeah.
Okay. Um, what? I see that this game has the ability to have a campaign as well.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I've seen a couple of other people doing some campaigns, and like I said, I'm planning on starting one with the Ebdani, but man, I can't wait. I cannot wait to start doing this campaign because I mean, when I did it, I've played a couple of battles with a couple of other buddies and everything, and I have to say the units look absolutely fantastic. All of them. I mean, we played primarily with just the factions that you added in. Just
The completely new ones.
the
Yeah.
completely new ones, and I have to say those units look beautiful. They look absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
You did a stand up hell of a job on creating these new units.
Thank you very much. Keep in mind that just because it's already in the game doesn't mean that it's finalized. These rosters could, like, if someone's watching this video like a year or two from now, these
Mm.
rosters could have doubled, or you never know.
Yeah,
You never know
yeah.
where they might reach. And as I was saying before, and I forgot to mention this, a lot of different units and stats have been edited because the mechanics have changed slightly, a little closer to the way the morale and all that work in Attila.
Mm-hmm.
Formation attack has been removed because it didn't really make much sense. You're either in a formation like shield wall, hoplite wall, anything of that sort, or you're not in formation. Formation attack in this game does not make any sense, so that's been thrown out. But any unit that originally had formation attack now has some sort of uh, formed, uh, like you get what I mean, right?
Yeah, like if they
Yeah.
already did, if they had a formation attack, then they had the shield wall, they keep the shield wall. Is that what you're saying?
No, if they had so if they had formation attack, so now they don't have formation attack. So how did I make up for that? I
Mm-hmm.
gave them shield wall.
Okay. Okay, so a
Yeah.
lot of units are going to have shield wall, even maybe some of the lower tier unit. Yeah, I see right here in the Ebdani, the Druidic nobles, they used. Yeah, did they have shield wall?
It's I mean it's possible.
I don't recall. I don't
Like I
honestly.
said,
I don't
a lot
remember.
has been done.
I don't
Mainly
remember.
the barbarian factions are a little bit of a bad example because pretty much none of them got formation attack. But
Mm-hmm.
if you go over to Rome, for example, Rome's a good example.
Okay.
Rome, all of them got all their units got formation attack, but now you'll see that all of them have shield wall because the formation attack is supposed to be a shield wall in a way.
Yeah.
That's what it was, but it wasn't actually doing anything. In fact, it actually put you at a disadvantage in the vanilla game, which did not make any sense. So now you have an actual shield wall, and it does what it's supposed to do. The
Okay.
shield wall so far is exactly the same as the vanilla shield wall, except that they have been buffed to add a lot more emphasis on using formations.
So I see. I don't play Rome. I never play as Rome, but I have glanced at their roster in the past, and I see that you have added in a new unit to the melee infantry for Rome, some auxiliary Amazonian infantry.
Yep, auxiliary Amazonian infantry. If you get on to missiles, you get auxiliary Amazonian slingers and auxiliary Amazonian archers. Since they're a new culture and they're pretty good, and you'll say, well, the Romans, they like to colonize everything, so
Mm,
now they get their auxiliaries.
wow. And you have the cap on this unit, the Amazonian infantry. They have a cap of 4. Are these units really? Actually, yeah, they are. The weapon damage is pretty high. Wow.
They're decent for their cost, yeah.
I would say so, yeah. I also actually see that you added in a couple of new categories here for the unit info. You actually added in unit ammunition, speed, shield armor level.
Shield armor level? What are you talking about?
At the bottom, I'm looking at the Amazonian level, Amazonian infantry card, and at the bottom
Yeah.
it says shield armor, and then it has 35.
Yeah, that's how much armor is given to the shield. So, let me explain how shields actually work, just in case you didn't know. So, there's melee defense and there's armor, right?
Mm-hmm.
The shields give part of it to the shield, and then there's a number that they give. I'm sorry. Shields give a buff to the melee defense, and they give a buff to the armor. Shield armor is how much it gives um, to the armor itself, right? So
Okay.
35 shield armor, that means your armor goes up by 35. If you mouse over the armor button, like text, you'll see that it says base value 20 and shield value 35.
Yes.
So whatever the shield armor is, that number is added on top of armor. And then
Ooh.
melee defense, if you mouse over, you'll see shield value. That is a number that is not displayed here,
Mm.
unless you mouse over melee defense, of course. And that is the amount that that shield is adding onto.
So the
So
shield value for melee defense is a plus 25 to the base value. How come it's only 25 instead of 35?
because there's two different stats that work in the game.
Oh, okay.
Shield armor, or the armor itself, is mainly reserved to armor piercing weapons
Hmm.
or lack thereof. So, for example, a melee defense, if someone swings a sword or a weapon at the unit, the game will basically have a dice throw depending on the stats, and will calculate who wins. Right?
Hmm.
melee defense increases the chance that the attack will be blocked, but
Yes.
armor increases the chance that the attack will not be blocked, but would still not cause any damage. Make sense? So
Yes.
it's not blocked. Like the defender didn't block it, but it didn't go through.
Because
That's
of the
basically how it
armor.
works.
The armor.
Because of the armor. Yep.
Gotcha.
And that takes effect most of the time. Well, most of the time when it's noticeable with missile weapons. When you get hit and the unit doesn't die, that's because they have armor. Or it gets blocked, that's because they have armor. Not because of their melee defense. Melee defense doesn't affect a blocking of missiles at all. So that's what. So the higher the shield armor, the more you can survive missiles.
Okay.
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah, higher armor and shield armor. Those two will determine how well you survive being pelted by missiles.
Gotcha. Actually, real quick, there's some factions that have, like, we were just looking at Rome. Actually, I'll go back to Rome. They have the Caesar general skill type, and where are they? I use them all the time. The Arverni have the, I can never say this word, but the
Vercingetorix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Vercingetorix. Thank you. I see that the new factions you've added in don't have that specific general type. Do you think you're going to add something like that in for these factions?
I'm not sure, because those abilities are mainly based on a historical count of a general or a person or a tactic that was of importance.
Mm-hmm.
If I do that, that would mean I would either have to reserve it to big powers, like I wouldn't give it to the small factions, only like big factions, or I would somehow have a special ability based on some kind of historical or mythological speculation for each faction in the game, and I'm not sure if that's even like I'm not sure if that's really gonna work that well. So
Okay.
I'm not sure about that.
Okay. Well, it's something that it's something that could be possibly looked at some point in the future.
Absolutely.
Okay. So yeah, let's get it. Let's dive into some of these units because obviously, you've made a lot of these Atlantis, and what prompted you to add these specific factions in to the game?
Well, aside from them being part of mythology, I mean, Atlantis is part of mythology. All the factions that I'm coming up with and trying to add are either basically a faction that has existed in mythology or in legends, or has already existed but isn't that popular or wasn't at the stage where it is right now. An example is, like I said, the Etruscan. They were, in this point in history, they were pretty much completely defeated by the Romans, but I kept them going. That's the thing. Atlantis are one of those factions that are based in mythology, and it's just felt like a cool addition because, I mean, Atlantis. Who hasn't heard of Atlantis?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and add their own little twist to it. And like I said, it's based in reality, so you won't see them have some kind of special magic power. No, they're just another people, another section of the map with their own different abilities and or strengths and weaknesses. And in this case, Atlantis are obviously a naval power, so they'll go up against Carthage and Athens in the game. Other factions that I will give a little bit of a spoiler that they'll be coming. You'll have the Neregic tribes, which also were real, but probably were not in power at this point. If you don't know who the Neregic tribes are like the Aioli.
Okay.
And they're in the Rise of the Republic. Yep. Those guys. And then what's coming up next? Let's say the Trojans. What if they were never defeated? What if they stayed in their little city, did not expand, so they just got one city, Troy, where it usually was, or where it originally was, but I would like come up with, okay, if the Trojan War happened in like 1000 BC, what would they be like in 250 BC,
Yeah.
Just try to speculate, yeah. I mean, there's a lot. I was just thinking the other day, what if I add in like the faction that's called Persia in the game? It's literally just called Persia. It's just another copy-paste Eastern faction. What if the entire basis of that Persia faction was those are the survivors from those are like descendants of the royal families of Xerxes and those kings of Persia after
Ooh.
the empire was dissolved. And they start out as a completely normal Eastern faction, and then late game they start getting immortal spearmen and those immortals. You know what I mean? Just
Mm-hmm.
to give you that bit of lore in there. You know.
Oh,
So
so.
again, a faction that existed but doesn't exist anymore. But what if they came back? Something else that I was thinking of. Egypt at this point in history has been colonized by the Ptolemaic Empire or the Ptolemaic Kingdom, so the Greeks
Mm-hmm.
or Macedonians or whatever. Well, on the campaign, there's a faction right next to it called Cyrenaica, and I've decided I'm going to change that, and I'm going to turn them into classic native Egyptians, and they're at war with the Ptolemaics. So if you
Wow.
play as them, they're going to have your basic Egyptian infantry, Egyptian pikemen, all that, and they're going to have a whole roster that is inspired by Bronze Age Egypt or the normal Egypt that has been untouched by foreign influence. But like I said, they're not just going to be a copy paste Bronze Age. No, no, it's going to be like what would they have been like theoretically if they advanced to 270 BC or whatever time the game starts.
So you're basically, by adding these new factions in, you're like the concept of these Total War games is to say, what if this specific part in history happened the other way? You're
Exactly.
basically just opening the door for more factions and more history changing events to take place.
Exactly.
Wow. I cannot wait. I can't wait to dive into this campaign. I can't wait to see what else you got coming down the line, man.
Well, there's a lot, and I mean, huge focus of this mod is actually on the campaign, because I'm adding so many different buildings and different mechanics to the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually quite a few buildings available right now, and even more will be added in. And the difficulty has been pumped up to 11, man. Difficulty in this campaign. It has been. I actually think it's one of the more difficult Total War games at this point.
Really?
Uh, and I've done that on purpose. Yeah. If you play on medium or something, you won't really notice a difference. But if you play on hard, very hard, or even legendary, it's brutal, and that was done on purpose. It's not impossible. I mean, it's not impossible. That would defeat the entire point of a video game. But it's
Well, you
it's
can still
definitely
you can
difficult.
still win, but you would actually have to. It's not just going to be like vanilla AI where the general's going to charge at you.
Yeah, yeah. It's and especially the AI will now set up ambushes and set up coalitions against you sometimes, and diplomacy has been balanced out to be a lot more balanced, I guess you could
Okay.
say.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, certain things that didn't make sense but are kind of small, but in big picture they make a lot of differences. For example, in the vanilla game, the more power you had, the more political power you had, the more benefits you gained. Well, CA actually noticed that they made a mistake there, and in the future titles, when you have more balance, you get both negatives and positives depending on how much um, influence you have. So if you have too much influence, that's bad. If you have too little influence, that's bad also. So
Mm-hmm.
you're going to want to find a middle ground. That's one of the things that you'll find in there. And then it's a lot of different small things like that which contribute and work together to create a new experience.
Hmm. So I'm looking in the Atlantis because we're just, I'm looking at the Atlantis, and I see that you've added in a light hoplite infantry, and they have the rapid advanced and phalanx. This is like a primarily like a flanking unit, I'm guessing.
Uh, Actually, yes, but actually, light hoplites were already in the game.
Mm. I don't really know very much. I just play barbarian factions, so this is kind of a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit new to me as well.
No, they were already in the game. Uh,
But did they have the
but
rapid advance?
yes, they did.
Oh, they did. Okay. Hmm. So a light hoplite unit has discipline also. Wow, I didn't know that. That's gonna actually
They're meant
change
to
the
be
way that I
lighter
attack
and
sometimes now.
yeah, be more of a flanking unit. Hence the name.
Okay. Okay. I mean, yeah. Is there anything else that you really want to put into here? I mean, you've given us a lot of information so far, and just the couple of ideas that you've told us here about stuff that's going to be coming out soon. Is there anything else you want to kind of expound upon here Any other new units or any like your favorite faction that? What was the favorite faction that you've created out of the five that you've made?
Okay, so at this very point in time, I would say it would be the Ebdani because I like the theme that they give. It's ambushers and raiders
Mm.
theme. Um, but right after that, I would actually either play as Atlantis or the Etruscan. I'm just fans of their. I'm just a big fan of the idea of Atlantis. I love the color scheme, that bluish purple thing, and the Etruscans. I just tend to like their starting position on the map and the kind of units that they get when you play multiplayer or anything like that.
Hmm. Um,
And yeah,
the Etruscans. I didn't play. What was the DLC that the Etruscans were in?
Rise of the Republic.
Okay, so are they starting off in the same spot that they would be in Rise of Republic, like completely historically accurate?
They start out where they originally start out in the Rome 2 campaign. So yeah, pretty much the same region.
Okay, okay.
And it's actually one of the harder campaign starts because you're up against Rome right off the bat. That's actually a
Hmm.
little bit of a challenge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they're not very. How many settlements would you say how many do they start off with? Just one?
They start out with three minor settlements, but that will actually be changed to just two when I add in the Nuregi tribes. So it's gonna get even harder.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, you guys out there that like to play hard and difficult legendary campaigns, you got some new choices in this mod here that might make it a little bit more hard for you guys to be successful.
One thing I'm trying to tackle is the idea of steamrolling because in these games, there's always a point that you reach where you're unstoppable. I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
gonna say I'm not gonna say I defeated or that I overcame that. I actually don't know. I haven't like that when you work so much on it that didn't get the chance to play through an entire campaign
Mm,
recently.
mm,
But I believe that I have done a lot so far to curb that down a little, and I'm still looking into more ways to do that. Garrisons have been doubled, for example. Garrison's a lot bigger. The traditional mob unit no longer exists.
mm.
They're now, yeah, they've been replaced by a very weak spear unit. So when you take a town, there's going to be a resistant, and if they even have an army garrison in there, that's going to be a big battle. Sieges are going to be, you're going to try to starve out the enemy. You're going to try to, you're going to play a lot more tactically, and I'm that's just like dude. Still, there's so much that's going to be added. I'm going to give a little insight on the next update. Joe, you've seen a very small glimpse of it so far. Um, it's based on naval combat. And I know naval combat is not that important in Rome 2. No one really plays it. But I'm remaking all kinds of naval units from the ground up. All naval units for all factions will be changed or replaced. The different ship types will be changed, even if they're the same models, since I still haven't figured out how to add custom models in yet. But their stats and their names will represent or better reflect what they're capable of doing. Maybe some different abilities gained. Um, and the units
Ooh.
that are crewed on those ships, instead of having okay, so you have hoplites on the ground and you have hoplites at sea. Okay,
Mm.
well, I mean, where are the Marines? I mean, yeah, I know some factions have Marines, but no, where are the actual Marine forces? There are like, for example, sailors. What happened to those? What happened to pirates? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sea raiders. I don't know, something like that. To
It,
eat to each culture group, you will have something that fits that description. Um, and I actually sent Joe a few screenshots. If he'd like to show them in the video, I don't mind. You can go ahead and put them up.
okay.
And alongside that, and I'm working on this right now, and I believe it's going to be a very cool concept. I think it's going to work. But I will say that it has been done before. It's not my idea. It has been done on the workshop before as a separate small mod.
Mm.
So I don't remember who made it, but if you're watching this, thank you, because it was actually a really cool idea. And it's basically how in the original Rome Total War, and same thing in medieval Total War, medieval 2, you would get pirates and rebels that spawn around the map randomly.
Ooh.
So you don't have to wait for a rebellion to happen to have rebels. No, you would just find a rebel army or a pirate ship or a pirate like navy just cruising around doing whatever, raiding, and you'll have that happening next update,
Ooh.
especially with the pirates, just to put up more emphasis on having navies and actually combating those pirates.
So you're really just trying to put a totally different level of difficulty on this and make it harder in that
Not just
aspect.
harder, but a lot more interesting. I mean,
Yeah,
just a lot more alive. Make
yeah.
the game feel a little less simple, a little
Less
less.
dronish, if you will.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, man, thank you very much for taking your time apart. I know you're a very busy guy, and
No, no, man. Thank you.
thank you for taking the time out of your day and sitting down with me and doing this short interview here. I know there's a lot of other stuff, but I kind of want to give a little bit more of a appeasement, I guess, for when people come in and start playing the mod, they get to see these things by themselves. You know what I mean? Like, you've given us a
Exactly.
lot of information, but I also want them to kind of experience some of this stuff by themselves.
The best way is to try it out yourself, and that's how you experience what the mod has to offer.
All right, guys. Well, you heard it here first. This is Genesis. He is the creator of the New World mod, and if you listened, you heard him say that there will be a lot more stuff coming down the pipe for this mod here, probably, hopefully, in the near future, but in the future nonetheless. But yeah, man, I want to thank you again for giving me this time and coming out and sitting down with me and having this interview.
Of course, man. Of course, and thank you for giving me the chance to show off my work here, since I take my
Absolutely.
work very seriously.
Absolutely. Guys, I just want to say I'm going to make sure that I put the link for this mod in the description below, so it'll be really easy for you guys to go find it. And yeah, that's going to be, I'm going to wrap it up here. And all right, guys, well, you guys have a good rest of your day. Stay safe, and I will talk to you guys soon.